the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard with you. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. A banger of a 3-hour show lined up today, including one of the best poker players in the world who has been on a heater at the World Series of Poker, Shaun Deeb, taking time out of his incredibly busy schedule to join us in studio coming up in 30 minutes. Paulie, level of excitement from a scale on 1 to 10 here?
9.5.
Okay.
Yeah. Goes to a 10. Goes to an 11. Absolutely. He is trying to lock up Player of the Year. Can't wait to talk to him. He's probably feeling invincible and dodging bullets right now after what he's done.
Well said. Paul Stone live from Big 12 Media Days today. Best bets on that conference in the Big 12. Jeff Seeley, the Scottish Open, his best bets. And Derek Stevens is going to be fired up. Football contest and the Big Beautiful Bill a little bit later on this afternoon. There was a we'll get into baseball coming up in a minute, but there was a WNBA game earlier today. Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky were big dogs against Washington. They nearly won it outright. Hell, they were winning for a lot of that game in the second half, but they gave it away late. They covered the big number, and Angel Reese did it yet again. She had 20-plus points and 15 rebounds. I know that you were on the rebound prop over yesterday, 13.5. I laddered her this morning. I found it here in Vegas where you can go up to 16 rebounds, so I played 14-plus, 15-plus, and 16-plus. That last one was a loser, but the first two were winners.
She had 10 at half.
10 at halftime.
Yeah, I thought your monster game was looming.
And she was fired up at one point. She had 5 fouls in the game, but at one point late, I think it was tied at 77, the coach, they were, leaving the court after a timeout, and the coach was handing her the clipboard as she came off the court, and she spiked it like she was a volleyball player. Pissed off. You got to love the fire and the passion. But this stretch that she's on, Paulie, we mentioned this at the end of the show yesterday when you gave it out in pocket. 13.5, don't think is a big enough number right now.
Yep. 6 games in a row, at least 15 boards, averaging 17, 17, and 5 in the last 6. Another way you can attack it is the PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. It was 32.5 at DraftKings. Obviously flies over that with 22, 15, and 4 in this morning's game. They play again tomorrow night. She's found her offensive game. Doug Kazarian talked about with the Cordasco girl being out and how she's found her offensive game in lieu of that, and that's helped. And she's always been a menace on the boards as well, and not so much with the rebounds either. It's not the offensive rebounds. So feel good for her. She's been mocked and ridiculed with the offensive game, but a 17, 17, and 5 run here the last 6. Good for her. Come right back with her tomorrow night.
Yeah, there is a game coming up later on tonight. In recent years, this was a monster rivalry in this sport. The Aces are taking on the Liberty, and the Liberty are down to a 4-point favorite now. I think this was touching 6 either last night or earlier today. I know it was at least 5.5. But there's no Jones for the Liberty. Wilson, the Aces are only 9-9. She should have a field day in this game. Her player prop is 22.5 tonight.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The Aces are having a bad season at 500 overall, but you flip it to Liberty are 3-6 in their last 9 games after that torrid start to the season. So I guess I kind of agree with the money coming in on the Aces in this game. They rebounded. They absolutely squashed Connecticut. But what does that say? Because Connecticut's the worst team in the league. That's on the heels of Las Vegas getting blasted by almost 30 points against Indiana with no Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, right. That was terrible. Right. And that's why if you hurt me, I'm going to take some time off. And that one was bad. How bad that performance was when Wilson outscored her teammates as well. So I don't want the Aces tonight. But tough, interesting matchup, just like you have Mercury and Lynx tomorrow. Thoughts on the tennis with the big move as well? Well, that was live while we were live on the air yesterday. What happened with Sinner? So I didn't know this. Sinner got hurt in the first round yesterday and hurt his elbow. And I'm not a tennis expert, but he had to cancel practice today. So the money keeps coming in on Shelton, who was up there to 3-1. Now he's plus 250. And along with that, it's nothing but Alcaraz money to win Wimbledon now. He's as high as $1.65. He wins. He faces Fritz tomorrow. Not tomorrow, next day. And Alcaraz up to $6 against Fritz. He's 2-0 against him this year. Fritz hasn't won a set. You can lay 5.5 games with Alcaraz. But this is, I think it's a huge deal that Sinner had to cancel practice today. He plays early tomorrow morning. He'll be going the same time as the Joker match, and nothing but Shelton money. And we'll see. It certainly affected him in the Dimitrov match, as the guy's been unbelievable and doesn't even lose a set and drops the first 2 sets after he gets the awkward fall and hurts his elbow.
Well, knowing what we know right now, Would you actually place a bet on the Joker to win this thing?
I think Alcaraz will be too much for him.
No, I'm just saying, like, if they actually meet, is he going to be, is that, again, we talked about this yesterday with the money line, if it's going to be Sinner versus Alcaraz, and, Sinner was all the way up to, like, plus 225. Like, if they meet, there's no way it's going to be that number. Well, now we know about the injury, and Joker's actually below 4-1 now.
Yeah. That's what he was pretty much yesterday, too. He has not much movement, but then you see, I got to see what Sinner looks like. But the fact that'll change if you get the upset, number one player goes out, and Joker moves along as well. But Alcaraz was awesome today, and a good job by Fritz to make it. But I just think he'll be too much for Fritz as well. And then Sabalenka, as she always does, she messes around. She makes it interesting when it doesn't have to. She's down. She loses the first set. Credit for her bouncing back, but then she's down 3-1 in the third set, and then wins, I think, 12 of the next 14 points. So you see when the beast comes out of her, and she just uses all that energy, and she's not frustrated, not talking to herself. She's a total package with that forehand and how good the serve is that she took over and won that match. And now 275 in the semis as she moves on.
She's minus 140 to win it outright here at DraftKings as well. Okay, so also another thing that is going beast mode right now, the Blue Jays in Major League Baseball. They did it again yesterday against the White Sox. 9 straight wins. They are now suddenly up on the Yankees by 3.5 games in the American League East. The number tonight with Bassett taking on Savali and the White Sox. Blue Jays opened up at minus 170. And, I mean, they're taking money. I can't disagree with that at this point. They're as high as minus 206 on the screen right now to win the game tonight, and they have turned into a machine, Paulie. Yeah. I know that we kicked around. You did the idea yesterday maybe on the run line. I didn't like it because of Barrios, but he was good yet again on the road, and now they're minus a quarter on the run line in this game today with Bassett, like I said, taking on Savali.
He's bad on the road. He's great at home. He struggles on the road. He's got an ERA of 6 and change, but he has great numbers going back against Chicago, though. So that's the conundrum you face tonight. But you want to ride the hot streak, be my guest, but 5-1 with a 1.83 against Chicago.
Here's what you got to like. The team is having a blast playing. I do believe that over the course of 6 months, this is contagious, and it can turn into a thing. Like the chemistry for a baseball team being around each other every single day for 6 months out of the year. I saw it up close and personal with the A's when I lived in the Bay Area about 10 or 12 years ago. The guys got no. I brought this up on the show before. They got no credit. They were total underdogs. They picked to finish last, and they took off that year, and they won their division on the final day of the regular season. I think we're noticing that right now with the Blue Jays. And the way that they celebrated yesterday, they're all turning their hats backwards because Vladdy does that when they do the handshakes, and they were all smiles, and now they're crushing the baseball. And when things are going this well, pretty much everything in life for these players, feeling pretty good about it, man. And they're playing exceedingly well, and it's just now turning into suddenly, out of nowhere, one of the best teams in baseball. So again, I'm not going to blame anybody if you want to sit here after an 8-4 win again yesterday, if you want to say you're going to be betting them on like a money line parlay, or if you want to bet them on the run line in this game. What do you want to do with the Dodgers tonight after Yamamoto couldn't even make it out of the first inning last night.
Oh, he's been bad. I know. Disappointment since that hot start. I know. So now we'll see if that last start for the Phenom Mizorowski was a fluke. And Kershaw, $1.25 on the road. I think the Brewers can get to him and touch him up, and we'll see if the kid bounces back after that bad performance against the Mets. Maybe it's more about, hey, we found you out. We're beginning to study you, and we know what you're up to. Or it's just a bad couple walks, long ball, and that was it. But don't really want to say, well, the Dodgers are going to break out of this tonight and go there with Kershaw. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they touch him up and the White Sox got to him in the last start. So sure. I'm hoping the Phenom bounces back, though.
Kershaw touched almost $1.30 earlier today at certain books. And now money back on the Brewers. I'm with you. Like, what do you make of Mizorowski overall? The first 3 starts were absolutely brilliant. Keep in mind the level of competition that he played. And his last start did not go well. So here's one angle maybe to look at with Kershaw. Yes, it was a great story. It was an incredible scene at Dodger Stadium when he struck out batter number 3,000 in his career last start. But he has not been striking out a lot of guys at all. He's been going deeper into games since coming back and starting these contests. But his K-prop tonight, shop around, is either 3.5 plus money to the under, or 4.5 juiced, like heavily juiced to the under, 4.5. Opposing pitchers right now are currently on a 10-2 and under 1 run to their under with their K prop against the Brewers. They have not been striking out at all.
These numbers are so sharp today because I wanted the Kershaw K's under. I wanted Martinez outs over. He's from Miami. He's been great against Miami. Also looking at bullpen when Green comes back, I think you get a big start on Martinez. I wanted Lugo outs over.
Yeah.
He's been so good. Pirates can't hit, but it's just it's too high today. Can't do it.
I'll give you another one. I wanted Hunter Brown outs over tonight.
Yeah.
They're keeping it like at 17.5 at some books. Yeah. He's been automatic to get to 18. It's minus 240 in that range.
Oh, man.
To go over. It's one of the highest numbers I've ever seen for any player prop.
Sonny Gray to register a win plus $1.10. St. Louis in his 10 home starts, 9-1, and he has a 2.76.
Beautiful.
I think they should touch up Irvin and get to him, and that's a way you can attack it with the Cardinals. Our NFL guide is out. It's fantastic, over 90 pages. Sign up for the early bird special. You get $175 for all our football coverage through the Super Bowl, and that's every best bet, every host, every guest, and every betting guide, the 24/7 video, all the data and tools, and the morning email from Bill 80. Sign up today, get your copy, vsin.com/subscribe. It ends at the end of the month, expires July 31st. Get in the football special, $175, vsin.com/subscribe. What a deal, get it now.
All right, so here's the plan for this hour. Again, typically we do win some, lose some at 45 past this hour in the first hour of the show. That's coming up next because Sean Deeb is going to be in studio coming up at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific. Along with win-lose, we brought up some season-long NFL props on the show yesterday, and the more you dig in, the more you have to like this wide receiver market. We'll explain next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
It's good to have you on board. Fun conversation here as we continue with one of the best poker players in the world. In fact, he's currently leading the Player of the Year rankings as we speak. Sean Deeb's in studio. He recently won his 7th bracelet at the World Series of Poker and won the largest Omaha tournament in history as well. So you were talking about David Baker when you played with him for the first time, and he leaned into you and he's like, okay, he kind of knew how good you were, and this goes back many, many years. How often do you actually play with somebody new and you kind of think the same thing, like, well, this person is actually pretty damn good and I don't know who they are?
I think it's like once or twice a summer, I'll just watch a guy, their table presence, their demeanor, how they play some hands, how they play against a particular person, or how they adjust versus me. So in that 1K on day 2, this one European kid seemed like he had really good instincts, chose good sizing, made a good fold, and I literally just say to him, I was like, hey, let me buy a piece of you in the main event. And he's like, no, I kind of had a good summer. I like looked at his results. He had like a 5th or 6th place in like a 3K at the World Series, and I'm sure he did some stuff elsewhere outside the World Series. But he was like, nah, I'm kind of like good. I don't need the help. I was like, I have really lucky money. But my favorite story about that is, I think it was like 8-10 years ago, the year Joe McKeon won the main event. Matt Glantz was a Parks ambassador, and he played with this kid in the deep stacks at Parks, and he was really, really good. And he was like, he really liked the kid's game, and he sees him in the hallway at the Rio, and he's like, hey, you know, I want to buy a percentage of you in the main event. He's like, I'm not playing. He's like, listen, I'll give you $4,000 for a 30% of you in the main. Like, that's pretty high markup for a kid who wasn't probably going to play. Matt gives the kid the money, convinces him to play. He ends up going on to get second in the main event. So Matt always... Matt, there's a reason why Matt's also a member of Team Lucky. He's got great instincts on people, and the funny thing is the kid hasn't done much since then. But sometimes you're just like peaking, and then you hit that result, and then you kind of just never get back to that point again.
How long does it take you to recognize, again, maybe a table full of strangers, never played with them before? How long does it take you in your mind to think this person's either really good or not good at all?
I think within 5 minutes, I know almost everyone at the table how they play, how they handle their chips, how they handle the cards, the timing of their actions, their bet sizing, who they talk to. Do they seem nervous? Do they ask me for a photo? I mean, there's so many things. And so I have, at the World Series, people pegged very, very quickly. And thankfully, it's pretty obvious. You have a 25-year-old European kid, he's probably going to be good. You have a 60-year-old American, he's probably not going to be good. Like, physical stuff is so helpful, and just knowing people's background and their history. And also, I chat with people, so I get information of how often they play, how many events did they play, do they come out here just for this event, are they playing the main event? All you want to do is figure out the buy-in level they're comfortable with, their experience level, and then you have all you need.
What are we looking at here? You tweeted this out as well. The WSOP point standings, you're number one. Last time you were in, you mentioned how important this is for you. They've done some stuff to hurt you with the rulings and how they do this. But how big is this lead that you enjoy right now over Glazer, who has 3 bracelets, by the way?
So Benny's obviously had an amazing summer. He had 3 bracelets super early, and then he just stopped cashing events. So the way the World Series Player of the Year standings and scoring works is it's very top heavy. So the average tournament is somewhere between 1,000 or 1,200 for first place. Whatever it is for first place, second place is half that amount of points. And then each point spot after that goes about 50-ish points until you get to ninth. And then it's 200. And then below that is 100. Like there's these tiers of what percentage of the field cash. So the thing they changed about back in the day, when I first got into POY, all your scores counted. It was cumulative. So playing volume, multi-tabling, all the stuff I did got me a very high score. So, Negreanu and Helmuth don't play as much volume. They want to have shot at Player of the Year. They worked with World Series and said, we want everyone to have a shot at Player of the Year, not just always be Sean. So let's cap it at 10 scores. So I've used all my 10 scores to get to that 42-83. Benny has, I believe, 7 scores. He has another small score coming from yesterday in the 600 Ultra Stack. So being like 600 points ahead, if he doesn't final table something, I'm probably going to win. There's just not enough tournaments for him to get 200 points in. If I improve my score, it goes up. But, Scott Bowman and Martin Cabril, if they either of them win a bracelet, they would leapfrog me and Benny because of the way the scoring system works. So that's the fun thing. It's 4 of us are all battling, trying to play all these events. Part of the reason why I almost skipped the main event. I didn't want to play it because to get the POY points to increase my score, I would have had to make day 6 or day 7 of the main event. It's just too hard. Too many days committing and missing too many events where I could final table or win. So I was very happy to get knocked out in like 2 hours in the main. I didn't miss any of the side events.
Is that the only reason why, or do you just despise the main anyway?
The main is not best for a player like me because I'm such a momentum player. I occasionally just bluff it off. In the main event, people tend to have it, so I can't do some of the things. And I'm not a great super deep stack player. Like my skill set in poker is pre-flop. That's what online I think one of the most creative, smart, good instinctual pre-flop players. Post-flop, I could have some improvement on my game. But I've always just, luckily most of the tournaments I play, most of the hands in tournaments are pre-flop decisions, and post-flop kind of plays itself a lot of the time. But in the main event, there's a lot of like 5-way, multi-way pots, super deep, and I tend to get married to marginal hands. And also I'm like, I play every hand, so this guy's trying to bluff me. No, they probably just have it. Or I'm like, I'm trying to value bet thin, and then they have it. So, I've definitely not had the best results in the main, but it's also fine. I'll take my side events. Other people can win the main.
Is it frustrating also in that event? Because it's, I think, the 3rd most entries ever. But you get people who Hollywood, the tankers, they wear the costumes. The freaks come out for this thing.
It is unfortunate that because most players in the field don't regularly play 10Ks, and they tend to take overly too much time on their decisions when they're involved in the hand. And so I definitely don't enjoy that side of it. There's one player at my table who took 10 seconds to fold hand every hand pre-flop. And it's just annoying. Like, you have 7 deuce off under the gun, you're never playing. Just throw it in the muck. And, this was a winning player who's had good results in the main event. And, someone I used to be friends with. So I know his mentality, and, he's trying to be balanced in GTO in this stupid. It's the main event. If he's the second best player at the table, he should be trying his hardest to get the most hands in. The people who should be playing slow are the worst players at the table. But the funny thing, it's usually the better players who are tanking, and it's so stupid. They just kill their win rate. If you could say your ROI in the main event could go up by 25% if you play 25% more hands. If you're winning every hand dealt, why would you not try to play as many hands as possible with these amateurs as early as possible, as deep as possible? So unfortunately, a lot of poker players don't recognize how much that hurts them. And yes, they definitely ruin the experience for a lot of people. And it even gets worse when they're on a TV table. Like, I get it. People not used to be on a TV table, they don't want to make a giant blunder and be made fun of and, be needled by their friend circle or be known as the guy who did this in the main event. So it definitely, I think in the features, it's going to be worse just because people are so nervous. Think about that. It's like you try to say a college baseball player is like, hey, you're now at the World Series pitching Game 7. They're going to be nervous as hell, but that's really what it is. Like, it's that skill level person trying to play the highest stakes against the best players on the biggest stage with millions and millions of people watching. So I definitely get how a lot of people are nervous in that spot. Obviously, someone like me who's been on a lot of streams, a lot of final tables, had a lot of success, it doesn't affect me, but I know why and how it affects other people. And so it's just kind of a necessary evil that you have to accept.
You called the person a former friend. Can you keep it clean here? Why is that?
We had a prop bet on American Ninja Warrior, and I bet that he couldn't advance to round 2, and he had like 3 years to do it. And so after the third year, he got injured the second year. It was like COVID, so I'm sitting there with my wife and kids watching because my kids love American Ninja Warrior. And he like called me up, and I was like, "Hey, can you send the money for you since you lost the bet?" He's like, "No, I advanced to round 2. I have another chance at the buzzer." I was like, "No, the bet stipulated that it's only one attempt per year. You failed in your attempt." He's like, "But I went to round 2." I said, "The bet was to hit the buzzer at once a year." And so he tried to free roll me, try to act like I was scamming him. Unfortunately, when all the details came out, the poker public and the gambling public took my side. He eventually paid, and our friendship ended after that.
That was that. I'm guessing though in the poker world, like almost every player has a lot of former friends.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna 20 years in this industry. I'm sure you guys have people you might have done shows with or something else. You burn a few bridges. Sure. I mean, that's gonna happen. You can be so close with something. It only takes one thing to separate you guys or girls, and yeah. But the funny thing is, I have some people I wasn't friends with, and now we're back to being friends. It can still come full circle. You never know when you're going to meet up with, like, Martin Cabril, who's up there. I hated him when I first met him.
I can see that.
Yeah, but I think he's so funny and so entertaining right now. Like, I love spending time with him. I think he's so intelligent.
You're okay with the table talk, though. I mean, you do that.
I don't talk nearly as much as him or nearly as loud. Yeah. No one does that. But Martin, his antics are very funny. His whole, like, no media. Like, he has so many shticks. I had a great one. There was in the 50K PLO, we're on the bubble, like close to the bubble, and someone at the table, this guy I really don't know, he's like, "Hey, let's make a bet over under how many times Martin Cabril says not like that." And I said, "Well, let's do a lightning bet." So if you're not familiar with a lightning bet,
20 seconds.
You want to hang on to it?
Yeah, I'll say about this story is good. So I'll say
you can sit around for one more segment.
Oh yeah, I got you guys.
Very good. Okay, this is awesome. Professional poker player Shaun Deeb has had a hell of a summer out here at the World Series of Poker. He's going to hang out, so he'll finish that story, and also we'll ask him about the chip dumping controversy as well. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. We are live in downtown Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. We'll continue here with professional poker player Shaun Deeb. For those of you just tuning in right now, Shaun's been in studio for the last half an hour. If you missed any of it, I highly suggest you go back and find it on the Follow the Money podcast a little bit later on today. It was superb. He won his 7th World Series of Poker bracelet this summer. He took down the biggest Omaha tournament in history, and he is the leader in the Player of the Year rankings as well. You were before that hour ended, Shaun, you were telling this story about a lightning bet or lightning bets that you thought was really, really well done in previous years. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this gentleman at my table Martin was a few tables over, and everyone who's watching any poker clip he says not like that all the time. So there's 45 minutes left in the level, and he's like, "Let's make an over-under bet." I said, "Let's do a lightning bet. I'll pay you $700 up front. Every time he says not like that, I get 100 back from you." So in the first 10 minutes, he paid me back 600. I have 35 more minutes to go. I'm like, I'm going to print on this bet. But Martin's also short in the tournament. But I also know if Martin gets all in and gets knocked out, he's going to say at least 5 to 7 of them as he's on the way out the door. So for the next 20 minutes, he doesn't say it once. And we're like a few tables over. We're just both leaning back trying to listen to see if we can hear it. And this guy's playing a pot, and I'm taking money out of the cup holder that he has. And so Martin went 20 minutes, and in the last 5 minutes, he played a hand where he said it like 4 times. So I ended up profiting $300 on the bet. But it's just for 45 minutes, we're just sitting there laughing about how ridiculous this is. And Yeah, I have so many dumb prop bets of the World Series. This whole summer we've been playing a game called Code Names for money, and I'm the biggest fish of Code Names in the group chat. I'm down a lot of units. Thank God we're playing cheap, and my friends are all mad because I go deep in every tournament. They're like, we need you to stop winning every tournament so you can play more Code Names. We need to make some money back. So, it's just fun. Like, we love gambling small amounts on a lot of things, and it really makes the whole World Series go by faster.
What a life. Amazing.
It is great. That's what I love, too, about all the side bets and the stuff that's going on at the table. And even I used to watch back in the day, Antonio and whoever.
Yeah, Phil Locke, I bet you show. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was very good. But you're betting on what the person's answer is going
to
be.
So Loudon thinks. Yeah. So that's a game me and Dan Wyman, the main event champ for 2023. We've played that game with so many people and have said we have some of the most ridiculous questions out there. But
can you do one of them? Would be?
Yeah, so since I know that I can't say everything, but one of my favorite things is you ask a guy and a girl, how many unique male members, like their privates, have you seen? And it's really funny because you think girls' numbers going to be higher. And then the more times you do the question, there's a lot of guys in lockers and other things have seen a lot of unique ones. So that's always a fun one to get someone's number. And then there was one time, it was actually a dealer at the World Series of Poker. She was like, hey, ask me the question for Loudon Thinks. I'm like, okay, me and Dan do it. And she's dealing the final table of the main. And she says her number's 1,300 or something. Like, what? She's like, yeah, I used to be in the medical field. I was like, oh, that makes sense. But I was dying. This 30-year-old girl is just like, yeah, I've seen 1,300 unique ones. I'm like, what did you do in your past life? But there's a lot of fun ones. We'll bet, the last time Alan Kessler had, intercourse. There's just so many funny ones out there. Yeah.
He's a character. Okay, that was good. What was the you know what the answer was?
So we never got the true answer from Alan, but we did have a friend of his, a very close friend, who wanted to bet. It's been at least 20 years because he's too cheap to pay for it, and some girls have been interested in him, but he's turned it down. I love me some Alan Kessler.
Okay.
He's been needling me on Twitter. I've been needling him.
It's good.
It's great, the banter that so many of the guys in poker have with each other.
Biggest purchase after a win?
My wife will probably buy some houses for rental properties.
Okay.
Yeah, she's in Denver right now, trying to look at some stuff for a summer home, and I'm like, no, we're not gonna have a summer home there. I'm never gonna use it, but she's enjoying her time in Denver. So yeah, she spends all the money.
Sure.
I just make the money.
Thing that bothers you most? One thing about poker, or one thing you don't like?
Just the public image of the industry.
Uh-huh.
How many people will meet me and be like, oh, you're a professional gambler, and kind of scoff, oh, well, how do you really make money? How do you provide for your family? Those things have always bothered me because the public perception of the industry for so long was seedy, back alley, shady, the peoples and rounders trying to cheat. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are nowhere near that. And yes, there are plenty of people who try to cheat, but that's in every industry. Sports betting, any form of gambling, someone playing blackjack. I mean, people are going to try to cheat whenever there's money involved. But the best players, try to protect the industry as best we can.
Okay, we have to ask you about the controversy, and I know it came up, you have to talk about it all the time, but the last time you were in studio, you mentioned the incident that happened with Gus Hansen. I think it's different, but you can talk about your backstory with Gus Hansen and also your thoughts on the controversy with the egregious chip dumping that occurred.
Yeah, so, I think it was literally the week before I started dating my now wife. I played Heads Up, this $25,000 satellite, to play the first ever $1 million buy-in World Series event. Mm-hmm. And I get Heads Up with Gus Hansen. We're about equal in chips. First place is $888K because the tournament had $100,000 and $111,000 rake for charity. And second place was $1 million in cash. So I was like, I would rather take the cash than play the tournament. And Gus wanted to play the tournament, but he didn't send his money in initially, so he had to play the satellite. So I raise all but one of my chips. Gus goes all in, I fold, and then he wins a few hands later. And, everyone knew about it. It was not hidden. And, when it came to this promotion from WPT Gold, they basically made it so first place was super top heavy. It's kind of crazy because there was an earlier event where first place was $220K. The kid who won it won an extra $1 million from WPT. He just had a massive chip lead, so he didn't have to do a side deal. But that makes the prize pool so disproportionate for him. So these two guys get Heads Up, and when they were three-handed, they approached the third guy, Josh Richard, if he wants to do a chop. And Josh says, no, I want to play for it. And then Josh plays a hand where some people are claiming he was chip dumping or he was involved. I know Josh well. I know his circle. He just wanted to win it outright, and he's, has success, won the most circuit rings. He never plays that much high stakes or that much anyway, but he's like the Sean Deeb of the circuit. Like, he just shows up, plays everything when he does, and crushes. And he didn't want to do the deal, and so Jesse and Kroll, came to an agreement that was profitable for both of them, and then they did what they did. And, I understand the World Series banned them. I believe and I hope that it's only a temporary ban, and the World Series paid out and WPT played out. So it's people want to give this thing like, it's so bad for poker. These guys are both professionals who are there to make money. If imagine whatever job you guys say, here's your contract, you make $200K a year, but you can do this thing where you now are going to make $700K this year. You're going to say yes. You're going to do what you can, And it wasn't like they affected anyone else. They didn't cheat a third party. I know the World Series thinks they cheated them, but I really think that two people are there to make money. They made the most money possible, and I think part of the reason WPT got so much, attention is because of the way the World Series handled it. But supposedly, I was told this is all third-hand knowledge, so I could be speaking out my ass. Apologies to anyone, but I think it was more of a gaming and a Caesars issue than a World Series issue is what really got them mad. So, and I think if their tournament wasn't streamed, it would never go viral. It's like, how many times do things happen because there's video of it? It makes it that bigger of a deal. So me and Gus, it was in the back room at the Rio at 4 a.m. There was a couple articles written on it. There was nothing really. But if it was a stream thing, maybe, people give us more of a hard time about it. But who knows? It wasn't for a bracelet. It was just for a satellite. But I know of other people who have made deals for bracelets in the past, including some of the biggest names. So I'm not surprised that it happened, and I think it will happen again in the future, just probably not on that scale, and if people do it, they're going to be a little more creative.
Yeah, well said. Okay, so you mentioned that you hope it's a temporary ban. If it's not, and this thing is drawn out, is there a point you think down the road where, I don't know, you or other poker players band together and just go at them and say, enough's enough, come on, they got to get back in?
So poker players have done a few strikes in different online poker realm. It's almost never happened in the live realm. I think there was one time where the Alex Romvik and Jake Schindler were really hated for cheating the community, and poker players basically said, if you invite him, we're not going to play.
Okay.
And they end up getting barred. I've done that with sometimes with Sean Perry. I'm like, if he's here, I'm not going to be here. I've told producers of a show, I'm like, if you want me to show up, if he's here, I'm out. So you have a choice to pick him or me, from our own personal issues, me and him. So I think they're going to get back in. I think poker players it's hard for them to agree to boycott the World Series or do something like that. I don't really know what stance maybe we could say we skip an event, but, and it might not even be World Series choice. There's a good friend of mine, Sam Panzica, has been banned for 15 years from the World Series, had great success in WPT, but when he was 21, he got drunk at the main event final table and threatened to bring a gun in, and he got certified as a terrorist in their black book security thing, and so they've never been able to get him unbanned. I fought for him, Jack Effel's fought for him, and security's he's too much a liability. So, it's one of those running gags of the World Series. Everyone makes fun of Sam for it. It really sucks for him. He's a really nice kid, He was just making his biggest score ever, drunk. They were giving him a hard time, and he was, he was trying to be funny, and it just was taken the wrong way, and he's been life banned for, I think, 15 years now.
My God.
Yeah.
Over under when you can catch Johnny Chan in bracelets.
I'll give myself 2 years for Johnny Chan.
Yeah?
He's only got 10. 3 more.
Yeah.
I got Europe, Paradise. I got a few more events this year. I think I'm on pace to make about 1.5 bracelets a year. So
Ivy? How about Ivy? You're 4 behind Ivy.
Ivy's a little harder because he's playing, and he's playing well.
Yes.
He obviously made the final table with me in the 100K. He plays the highest buy-in events. So I think Ivy's a 4 to 5 year thing. Ivy's definitely getting back to peak Ivy mode.
Thanks for coming in. We're rooting for you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Take it home. All right. Take it home, Sean Deeb. Want to know where the money's really going? Unlike other sources, our splits come straight from Circa and DraftKings. See the percentage of bets, first percentage you handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get our exclusive betting splits as little as $9.99 for your first month. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get it now, $9.99. VSiN.com/subscribe.
That was awesome, Sean. Can't thank you enough, and kill it moving forward as well. And maybe we'll catch up again down the road. Post-summertime or something like that. You're going to get in the Grandissimo, $100,000 buy-in Survivor?
So my uncle literally called and asked me about that. He's like, well, there's only 2 people. I'm like, listen, it's going to fill. And if it's 3 away, yes, I will book a thing, last minute. But yeah, it's unfortunately I don't live in Vegas, so it's unlikely you guys see me outside of this.
All right, we'll get into some NFL awards coming up next. Trends don't pay the rent, but I think this is important.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Let's get some best bets in college football, specifically the Big 12 Conference Media Days ongoing this week. And a longtime friend of this show, he's joining us every single week throughout the summer months to get us summer previews for all these conferences and best bets. Paul Stone is there live, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Good afternoon, Paul. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Doing well. Really enjoying Big 12 Media Days today. A lot of coaches and players, and they're doing a great job at the Star here in Frisco, Texas.
How is Frisco? Nice little town?
You know, it's one of the fast growth cities in the U.S. They've got a fantastic tax base, and the Cowboys with this facility out here.
Yeah.
You know, they ought to win the Super Bowl every once in a while, maybe win a few games. But, man, it is state of the art. It's just incredible. I really, I used to be a sports writer in a previous life, but I hadn't been out here before. Don't have a great, don't follow the NFL that closely. But, man, this is a fantastic blocks of facilities out here.
Yeah, so it looks like when I've seen pictures before, like on social media. All right, let's begin with a win total that you like. In Oklahoma State, when you go back and look under Mike Gundy, and he's been there for many, many years now, starting in 2010, let's say, they won double-digit games 6 out of 8 years. And then 3 years in a row they did not. They came back and were 12-2 in 2021. They were 10-4 2 years ago. Last year, a heavy thud there in Stillwater, Paul. They went 3-9. I guess how the mighty have fallen here would be a question. Their win total is 5.5. What do you want to do with that?
Oh, I'll tell you, you hit it on the nail, Mitch. Love him, loathe him, like him, whatever. Mike Gundy and the Oklahoma State Cowboys, to me, they're kind of the poster child of how quickly a program can fall or change in the age of NIL. It's just incredible. This is a team, a program that recently they won 10 games in 2023. They played the Texas Longhorns for the Big 12 championship about 19 months ago. Last year, they slipped to 3 wins in 2024. And I just don't see any reason to think they're going to be any better this year. In fact, if you look at the Power 4 teams, there's 60 some odd teams in those 4 conferences, the Power 4. Oklahoma State is unquestionably one of the 5 worst teams in the Power 4 conferences. The only 2 teams that I can look at and I can say they are clearly power rated worse than Oklahoma State, those are Purdue and Stanford. So this team is really fallen off the map. They've got relative gimmies as far as their schedule to start the season with Tennessee, Martin, and Tulsa. But after that, they might not be favored in any of their remaining 10 games. They don't get to play West Virginia in conference play. They play Arizona and UCF, 2 other teams predicted to finish in the bottom half of the league on the road. So that's another negative. Their defense was atrocious last year, gave up over 38 points a game, gave up more than 38 points or more, I should say, in each of their last 8 games. So 38 or more in each of their last 8 games, an average of 43 points a game that they allowed down the stretch. It's just not a very good football team. I don't see how in the world they're going to win 5 games, even 4 games maybe. I've recommended them at under 5.5 wins, minus 154 at FanDuel. If you've got access to any alternate win totals, I don't see this team really winning more than 3 games. I just think this Oklahoma State team doesn't have the talent to really compete at a high level in a conference like the Big 12.
Excellent breakdown. How about another win total and another under? He said at the press conference he never should have left. Rich Rod back with West Virginia. Phil Steele picks them last in the conference. What do you think of West Virginia win total 5.5?
Well, as you mentioned, Rich Rod returns to Morgantown, and used to be a song that said the second time around, and the theme of that song was the second time around is going to be better than the first. But I think that's a lie. I don't think that's the case in romance, and I don't think it's the case in college football either. This is a team, they lose their top 2 players, arguably, in their program. Top running back C.J. Donaldson, he's off to Ohio State. Their linebacker Josiah Trotter, son of the former NFL great Jeremiah Trotter, after just 1 season at West Virginia, a season in which he was the Big 12 Defensive Freshman of the Year, he's off to Missouri. They're going to be favored in their opener versus FCS Robert Morris. But in the remaining 11 games, much like Oklahoma State, I don't see a game that they will clearly be the favorite in. So they might only be favored against one team this year. Got the 32nd toughest schedule in the country, according to one publication. They don't get Oklahoma State, Arizona, or Houston in conference play. Got a lot of roster turnover. They've got 52 new players. That's never a good thing. So a lot of turnover on the roster. I just don't think they're going to be burning many couches in Morgantown this fall. Yeah. If you bet on the Mountaineers, you might be burning money. I like West Virginia to go under their win total of 5.5, minus 150 at Bet Rivers.
All right, very good. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, professional sports bettor Paul Stone. He's on the Progressive guest line. You want to split a unit up here and bet on two different teams to win the conference this year. Who are they?
I'll tell you, much like last year, Mitch, I'll start out by saying there are 7 teams that could win this conference, in my opinion. Those teams being Arizona State, Utah, Kansas State, Iowa State, TCU, Texas Tech, and Baylor. 7 teams finished within one game of the lead last year. Might not be that balanced this year, but you might not have a great team, but you got a lot of really good teams in the Big 12. So I think we're going to split a unit here. We're going to go with 2 kind of mid-range shots. One of those teams was last year's champion, the Arizona State Sun Devils, plus 600. Obviously kind of starting with some of the negative, they lose a 1,700-yard rusher in Cam Skattebo. I think he was many of our favorite, many of us guys who watch college football, perhaps our favorite player in the sport last year. Not only the productivity on the field, but just his toughness, his grit. He was kind of the heartbeat of the team. So I certainly don't downplay his loss, but they return a lot of talent. I mean, looking at offense, they return one of the nation's top returning quarterbacks in Sam Levitt. He's a true dual threat guy, rushed for almost 500 yards last year. They returned an 1,100-yard receiver in Jordan Tyson. So they got people coming back on offense. Then they've got a defense that was one of the Big 12's very best last year, gave up 22.6 points per game against FBS opponents last year, gave up 340 yards total offense. Got a lot of people back on that defense, 11 of their top 13 tacklers. So that tells you what they've got going on. One thing going against the Sun Devils, they do have a pretty tough conference draw. They play road games at Baylor, Utah, and Iowa State. They don't draw Kansas State, so that's a check mark in their favor. But they will be favored in their final 3 games of the season, 2 of those by double digits. If they can get through the first 6 games of conference at 4-2, they're going to win those last 3, I think. That would probably get them in the conference championship game. So I like Arizona State at plus 600. And then the other team that I'm going to take half a unit on are the Baylor Bears at plus 700. Dave Aranda took the stage today in Frisco. He said, this is the most talented team I've had since I've been at Baylor. This is his 6th season. If you'll remember back in 2021, Baylor won the Big 12 championship. They beat both Texas and Oklahoma in that season. You guys will remember the conference championship victory over Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State had the ball first and goal from the 2, couldn't score. He says this is his most talented team since he's been in Waco. Last year, didn't look like Aranda was going to be back. They lost by 22 to Iowa State, fell to 2-4 on the season, 0-3 in conference play. They won their last 6 regular season games. Had quite the resurgence. They return a lot of people on offense. They'll be one of the better offenses in all of college football, in my opinion. Their quarterback, Sawyer Robertson, is back. Their 1,000-yard rusher, Bryson Washington, back. Also, their top receiver, Josh Cameron, back. So they got a lot of talent back. Defense gave up almost 29 a game last year. Got to be better. I think they will be better. I like Baylor plus 700 for a half a unit. If they were to make the conference championship game, it'll be played pretty close to their backyard, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas in December.
All right, Paul, can you do the game of the year in about a minute? That's what we have left here. You like Pittsburgh over West Virginia?
We can do that in a minute. I touched on West Virginia's situation. They've got a new coach. They've got a new starting quarterback. They've got more than 50 new players. And, some of the personnel that they've lost, obviously some of the best players in their program. On the other hand, you look at Pittsburgh, they've got a pretty good nucleus returning. They've got a sophomore quarterback in Eli Holstein, who's one of the better returning quarterbacks in college football. They've got a 5'8", 175-pound scat back Desmond Reed, he was a guy last year, 962 yards rushing, 579 yards receiving, a really dynamic player out of the backfield for the Panthers. They returned 9 of their top 13 tacklers, so got a lot of people back on defense. That includes first-team All-ACC linebacker Kyle Lewis. So a lot of talent back on defense. The backyard brawl, a big-time game. Hate to take a road favorite in these kind of games. Pittsburgh, though, they're better than West Virginia. Pitt -2.5 over the Mountaineers.
Excellent job. There you go. You can follow him on X at Paul Stone Sports. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate it as always. Enjoy the rest of our media days, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a great week.
You too.
Thank you.
Here we go. We're going to expand on the Coach of the Year in the NFL coming up next. We brought it up. We'll go back to it. We'll go over recent history with the award. This is an important angle to consider when betting it, but it's not the be-all, end-all.